You are listening to This is Oklahoma, hosted by Mike Hearn, telling stories of Oklahomans and those that have made it their home.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to an episode of This is Oklahoma. Mike Hearn here, host, back with another episode. Excited to share this episode with you today, but before we do, huge shout out to our sponsors. The Oklahoma Hall of Fame have been sharing Oklahoma's story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com. And for daily updates, go to Oklahoma HOF on Instagram and give them a follow. Our other sponsor today is Chickasaw Nation. Now, the Chickasaw Nation have sponsored pretty much everything a lot. This episode is brought to you by the Doghouse OKC. Recently, I have been in need of some doggy daycare for my two pups, and the Doghouse have come in clutch. The team over there are incredible. They've taken care of my two golden doodles, and so it's been an honor to partner with them on the podcast and share the love. Adding to that is the Doghouse. And so if you're in need of doggy daycare in the day or boarding overnight, they do grooming and other cool things too. But I've had a fantastic experience, and it's an honor and a privilege to share this with you too. So go to thedogHouseOKC.com and follow them on Instagram at thedogHouseOKC. Hopefully our pups will run into each other. If you're looking for a way to make a real difference, check out Bethany Children's Health Center. They're helping children reach their full potential as a leader in pediatric rehabilitation. They're also building a new outpatient center of excellence, and it's going to be a landmark right on Route 66. Want to learn more or even schedule a tour? Just head to bethanychildrens.org and click on the Ways to Give tab. That's bethanychildrens.org. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma. Mike Hearn here, host, back with another episode. We are up at OSU Tulsa, back at Is it still
Thunderbird Drone Festival?
It is still Thunderbird Drone Festival, but it's under new management, I believe. I'm excited to talk about that. It gives me great pleasure to bring back to the podcast, almost a year to date, Dr. Jamey Jacob from Oklahoma State.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to dive into this because I was listening to our last year's episode, which I'll link below for people listening, to kind of get your backstory and kind of, during high school, you really got into, unmanned aircraft and just before the technology had really caught up, right? We were kind of talking a little bit about that, but also the use of drones and now how we can, help the emergency services. And I know we talked a little bit about weather systems and tornadoes and flying things into that. But I'm excited to dive into, a year later, how this has progressed, how, this has just kind of evolved over the last 12 months, and with the great partnerships you have around the state, not just as far as emergency services, but education and research and all the awesome things. So thanks for coming back on the podcast.
Happy to be here.
Great festival this weekend. People listening, obviously, you need to come back next year. What have you been up to in the last year?
Well, while we're here, let's talk about while we're here today is the Thunderbird Drone Festival, and it is a multi-drone experience focused around technology, our fellowship program that we have, that are getting entrepreneurs trained in the drone industry. Of course, the drone film festival component itself, which is amazing. Last night, I always think about, I should, try this. And I think, well, I've got drones, I can capture video, but there's this artistic element, both, the eye of the director as well as the editor being able to pull these things together. And it's like an Oscar-winning performance when you see these, and you're just blown away by how great these things are. And then, of course, today is our STEM program, bringing in K through 12 students and introducing them to the world of robotic aircraft.
How's the technology evolved in 12 months?
Well, it's interesting, kind of with this, for the drone videography side, it's always moving forward, both in terms of the video, the audio, the control that you can get. And it's really interesting. We were having a debate amongst my team on my side about, who we would have chosen as the winner. And so there was a stunning set of videos last night with landscapes, flying over volcanoes. And then there was this really great video with some interior shots. And they were like, oh, no, the outside one to fly over the volcano should have won. But it's like, well, the technical expertise that it takes to be able to get, some of these interior shots stitched together and be able to fly. But you think about what we can do today versus what we could do a year ago, 10 years ago. It's just amazing how far the technology has gone. And we have to really thank the film industry for pushing this forward. We think, historically, these shots would have been captured by helicopters, which is both costly, but also risky to the people on board as well as the people on the ground.
Yeah. Yeah. I just had Jim Gardner on the podcast, who flew for News 9
Yes.
helicopter for a very long time. And he was telling me about when he started back in LA as a news helicopter pilot. And, you got a guy either hanging out of the helicopter, or you have this giant camera on the front. And he's like, now the system's so much smaller. And he's like, I don't need to be there anymore. Probably why he's now retired.
Yeah.
Right. But it's amazing to kind of, I'm fascinated by how small these technologies are, to be able to fly through certain spaces, but then the quality that comes back from that. Like, I just nerd out about that stuff. We talk about the cinematic side, and it's incredible and a lot cheaper now than it is flying helicopters and all that side. But for you and for your side, and obviously aerospace in Oklahoma is a giant industry, and ODA doing a great job, and all the other partners that we have. Talk to me a little bit about the education and the launch pad you have here, and just kind of how that's evolving, your plan for the future, and just what your team is doing.
Sure. And why we are here in OSU Tulsa is to really capture some of the environment that we have, opportunities within the Tulsa space specifically. And then the Launchpad Center for Advanced Air Mobility was specifically set up to be able to really support both at the student level, students coming up with their own ideas and, uncrewed aircraft systems, both small ones and big ones, as well as, startup companies, both kind of new and old that, may be new to this space, but have experience in other adjacent technologies that can then really leverage what's happening within the drone space.
Yeah. What are those opportunities, and what are the places that, or maybe some examples of the businesses that are being launched here, and the kids having those entrepreneurial tendencies matching with their love for drones and technology?
Yeah, I'll give a shout out to a couple, that we're partnering with. One of those is drones for first responders. And that's one of our really focus areas for the Launchpad Center, is to be able to support first responder community and how we integrate drones into their daily operations. And so we've run a pilot program with the Tulsa Fire Department, helping support what they're doing. They have a great drone pilot. He kind of does this on the side as part of his day job. So Gabe Graveline, fantastic first responder and fireman, really serving the community. But simultaneously, he wants to be able to push this technology forward and show the fire department and city of Tulsa what it can do. So, we've been operating a pilot program out of the downtown, flying drones across the city beyond visual line of sight, out of sight of the operator, and flying over fire calls with burning buildings and accidents and police interactions, providing that support with eyes in the sky, potentially getting to the scene first, and then letting those know what real assets that you need, but also providing that situational awareness directly back to the first responder community. And this will be a tool that all first responders will use. That's one great example. Other companies, Encore is another new startup, really looking at rapid prototyping capabilities, how you develop these systems, in a really quick turnaround fashion. An example I always like to give is Department of Defense in 2024 purchased for the entire Department of Defense 4,000 drones. That's the same number of drones that Ukraine develops in a single day.
A day.
A day. And they're using them. If you think about 4,000 a day, right, and going out into the field, and most of these are expendable systems, but it's also due to the fact that the technology is moving so quickly that they become stale very, very fast. So even if they aren't expended, so that technology becomes old. You think about how quickly the iterative design process is, and using the latest and greatest stuff. And it's not just hardware, but software, taking the programming. Good example is U.S. had shipped some drones over there. They took the drones, wiped all the control systems off, all the programming, and put their own stuff on there because their stuff was better, newer, right? It's like how we're going to adapt this. When we think about how quickly the technology changes, it's not just the hardware, but it's also the software, the algorithms that go on board, machine learning, artificial intelligence, those components that are making the systems smarter, more autonomous, more effective in doing their job.
Yeah. Is the rapid increase in technology and being able to kind of download constant upgrades to the system
the biggest kind of roadblock, I guess, for the progress of it? Because I mean, the progress is amazing in technology, but then you have to be able to download it. Or is it the human side of it, being able to have a pilot designated to either a fire station or an EMT or whoever it is? Like, is that what's holding it back?
Well, I'd say it really depends upon the industry that you're looking at,
Okay.
right? Because it's very industry or use case specific in terms of what that particular roadblock is. One of our panels that we had yesterday was focused on technology. And there are a couple of questions that I kind of posed, like when you're thinking about, well, how do I get from point A to point Z using a system to be able to do the job? The first thing is, well, can I do it?
Yeah.
Is it technically feasible? Then is like, well, can I do it legally? Do you have the regulatory hurdles that are in place or have been knocked down that allow you to do it? Because certainly there's a lot of things that the FAA won't let you do that we can do technically. And the third is, can you do it safely? Right. So thinking about the safety of not just, your personnel, but also the safety of everyone operating the airspace, people on the ground. And then finally, can I make money off of it? And just because you can do it doesn't mean that there's an audience or customer that's going to be willing to pay for that. For that to actually happen. And so you kind of have to think about the progression to be able to get to that end. And then that's a constant iterative process. So like when you get to that end, it's okay, now that I have a product that people will buy, how do I make sure that I keep it at the state of the art?
How has your passion for drone technology and unmanned aircraft evolved over time since you started as a kid, since you had this dream and were fascinated in it, to now?
Yeah, and I can't remember if we talked about this, last time, but one of the things that really drove me to my interest in autonomy, robotic aircraft was, piloting my first remote controlled aircraft and how bad of a pilot I was.
We did talk about that.
And I was like, oh, yeah, okay, I suck at this, right? So is there something I can do as an engineer to be able to help support that? And, and of course, my skills in the programming side are not nearly up to date with, those of engineering team or our students that can do really, really cool stuff, right? And of course, there's a whole library of stuff online now. So I think my passion is higher than ever. If we look at what we're doing and what's happening now, how quickly things are evolving, and think about how the technology is advancing, and we put a robotic aircraft, a drone on another planet, Mars. We have one going to Titan soon from NASA. We think of a drone, that's going to be the size of a VW Bug flying within that atmosphere, looking for potential signs of a life. But I always challenge, our students like, well, think of this like a smartphone. When we had smartphones arrive on the marketplace, we had no idea what that technology could be used for, and people coming up with new ideas. One that we had talked about and mentioned was this drone dolphin project, or dolphin drone project. Drone dolphin's a whole different thing. This was driven by a marine mammologist, Dr. Jason Bruck, who wanted to capture samples from dolphins in the wild for health assessment, primarily in the Gulf. And what they do now is they essentially find a dolphin, bring it on board. They do a nasal swab of that, just like they do a nasal swab with us. They're mammals, we're mammals. So a very similar type of diagnostic approach to be able to assess their health. But that's very stressful to the dolphin.
Yeah, and the environment that they're in, and
exactly
trying to catch one, and I'm sure,
it's not like they're going to swim up and say, yes, I would like a nasal swab today, please.
pull you over.
Yes. So, but when they surface and exhale, that plume is called the blow, and that blow contains both, essentially saliva, dolphin snot, as well as seawater. So if you can capture that sample, that will serve the place as that nasal swab. And so we started working on this project. And it's funny, when they came to us initially, they said, we want to do this, fly a drone over a dolphin. And we'd known it had been done with whales before. Yeah. Whales are easy. Whales surface, their plume goes up about 150 feet.
A little slower sometimes.
Exactly. All you need, and they do not care about the drone whatsoever. Like it's a gnat to them. You can just fly a drone in that, open up a petri dish, let it fall from the sky, and you're done. And that's it. Dolphins are a lot more challenging because when they surface off, if they see the drone or hear the drone, their hearing is very acute. They'll swim away. They won't have anything to do with it. So we have to make things that are quiet, that also fly in their blind spot, and then are timed to be right behind the dolphin when they surface and they exhale, and then have a system that will be able to capture that dolphin snot and return it back to the researcher for
Not
testing.
an easy. Not an
Well,
easy
we actually said, oh, sure, we should be able to do this. Give us a year.
right.
It took us about 7, right, to be able to do that. But we actually did our first successful sample captures on dolphins in the wild this summer
Wow.
with it in the Gulf.
Amazing.
Yeah, near Galveston.
Yeah.
So it's very exciting,
That's
right? It took us, a lot of trials with dolphins under human care,
Oh,
testing
so
under dolphins that were more willing to say, hey,
yeah.
give me a fish, I'll do
Just
this.
call up SeaWorld and like, hey guys, we
Yes.
borrow some airtime. How?
So it was actually a team. Our team was Dolphin Quest,
Yeah.
right? So, which was it was really arduous going out and doing this. We had to spend some time both in Bermuda and Hawaii
Yeah, I'm sure.
testing on
Really
dolphins and human care. Dr. Bruck always
Team
said
was
that.
real happy with that one.
Well, he said, there's something to be said about choosing to study an animal that has the decency to live in a nice place. So we said, great. Now, studying penguins and polar bears, that's a whole different exercise.
The list of volunteers going there is a little short compared to the list to go to Hawaii and find dolphins. What did the team think when you approached the team and said, hey, this is going to be our new project?
I think you're very excited about it, right? Because then you have this new engineering challenge, and it's not just about the drone; it's the capture system. It's okay. We have to design a mechanism that's going to be able to capture the sample in, and so there's a lot of engineering and science involved in that. All these different steps to be able to make things work. So, and it's actually, it's not a traditional what we think of as a quadrotor drone. It's a fixed wing aircraft. So you want to be able to fly. There are other machine learning components with it. It's going to be coupled eventually with another aircraft that essentially tracks the pod and, be able to identify different dolphins and say, this is a dolphin that we want to, be able to sample from, for example.
So many things that come to mind of that, but also, the beauty of developing a technology for a certain need, there's always something parallel that can be used for. So in your experience and doing this for the last 7 years, what are the parallels that you can use this technology you developed and the system that you've used for dolphins? How can you use that in other places as well that have also aided your research and maybe in other places?
Yeah, and actually, some of the stuff they had done previously that have driven this, and we've actually come back to this as a problem, are things such as methane plume detection for fugitive gas emissions. A lot of pipelines transporting natural gas from one location to another within the state, being able to track where those fugitive emissions are coming from, they can be up to 10% of the amount of product that you have. Oil and gas companies, are not only looking at this from an environmental standpoint, but from a cost savings as well. Abandoned oil wells that might be leaking, being able to have these systems that detect that. It's a plume of a different scale. Taking this now to, things such as volcanoes. So then you can measure the gases that are coming out of that volcanic eruption. So there's lots of different applications you can think about from both the engineered world and the natural world that these systems can be applied to.
What big projects do you have in the pipeline right now? Do people come to you with, I'm sure, with plenty of ideas and we want to work on this, and see there's government funding and budgets involved and all. One, how do you choose what do you work on next? And then what is in the pipeline for you to go to?
Yeah. And so, certainly we don't do everything. Try to, the things that we do really well are essentially design, build, fly. Design systems, manufacture them, then go out and flight test. That's one of the unique things about the programs we have here in Oklahoma. We have, first off, a lot of great flying days. So, there are very few places in the country, even though we have severe weather, you take a day like today, it's just gorgeous out.
Perfect.
Even if you have a little bit of a wind on windy days, that's actually sometimes good to be able to train a drone or other aircraft to be able to fly in those gusty environments. So flight testing, we have partners, the Osage Nation, Choctaw Nation, Cherokee Nation, using the test sites that they have developed, as well as the test sites that we have here, Center for Forensics Explosives, that allows us to test explosive systems. We have a minefield set there to be able to train systems to search for mines and unexploded ordnance. A field at Fort Sill that allows us to be able to work directly with the Army, and that's really focused around counter UAS. So that's the kind of stuff that first we focus on. If someone comes to us and says, "Well, we really want to do this in this particular area," say, "Well, it's not what we do, but we can partner up with some. We can find another partner for you." And we always see part of my role is to, from a statewide perspective, fulfilling our land grant mission, serving the state, figuring out how we push the technology forward and collaborate. We work really well with our other partner universities across the state, OU, TU to be able to find solutions together to be able to support companies and
Yeah.
government agencies.
Yeah, and I'm sure there are some people that might look at the things that you do. You got two kinds of people depending on what their personal views are. You'll see people look at the dolphin side and be like, "Wow, that's amazing! It's great for research and eventually will aid dolphins and animals in their own environments." And then you look at the Department of Defense side, and people are strongly against war and whatever it is, all the bad things there. But there's good and bad in all of it. But also the beauty of it is sometimes you can't do one without the other. Sometimes
Yeah.
the DoD funds a lot of the really good stuff.
And that's true. And the challenge here, right, is the technology is out there. The genie is out of the bottle. And this is one of the things that we really focus on from the counter drone or counter UAS perspective. This is a threat.
Yeah.
This is now a tool. I always kind of like to use the Oppenheimer movie as a reference,
Yeah.
right? You're not going to know what is underneath the stone until you lift it up. And now we've done that. These systems are out there. And so we have to think about it both from how can we use these things to make our lives better, but also how can we protect from these systems as a threat?
Yeah,
And that's a
classic,
challenge.
like the line in the what was it, the new Top Gun, where at the beginning of the movie is just my favorite scene. The admiral standing at the runway and he takes off. And
Yeah.
it's just such a cool scene. But the reason that guy's coming, the admiral's coming there, is to shut him down because unmanned aircraft is going to be
Yeah.
the future. And I had a former A-10 pilot on the podcast, and he talked about it and done 2 tours overseas. And I'm like, he has a skill that not many people have, but in the modern world, someone's going to be able to do that from a chair and a desk and run it from somewhere else. And
Well,
but
first
there
off,
is both, I guess.
to a degree, right?
To a
There's
degree,
still
yes.
things, that autopilots can't do, that pilots can do, but it's also the decision making, right? And this is a
Human
whole separate
Absolutely.
ethical line, philosophical line that you have to run down in terms of, who are we having make these decisions? And, from the policy standpoint, most of our decision makers aren't even really thinking about this, let alone being informed about it. And so how part of our job then is making sure that not only is the public aware, but are they aware? So that way they can make the right decisions about how we're moving forward with this
Mhm.
technology. Because we do want to make sure that, our goal is to make the world a better place. To do that, sometimes we have to make hard decisions.
Yeah, and on the total opposite side of that, you have Amazon delivering your groceries via drone to your front doorstep, which
Yeah.
is being tested as well too. Because I'm sure you see this. There's not enough hours in the day or people in your profession to tackle everything at once, and it's what it takes to do that. But
Yeah, and it's interesting. Historically, it was about 2013 that Amazon first came out and said, we're going to do this in 18 months. And they both underestimated the difficulty of the problem, but also the regulatory hurdles that they would have to overcome. And those are good hurdles.
they're great hurdles,
right?
You
To
don't
say,
want
hey,
someone out for a Sunday flight.
exactly.
drone.
Let's make sure this is safe first, right? And at the end of the day,
Yeah,
that it's do no harm.
right.
It's actually serving a good at the end of the day. There's nothing wrong with getting your, burrito at 3 a.m. delivered by drone.
Absolutely. Yeah,
As long as it's done safely.
done safely, and even if you've had a few drinks and you want to,
There you go.
yeah,
Right?
like you're not the one. Just drop
Should be
it in.
driving out, right?
Exactly. Yes. Let's finish up talking about kind of this weekend. What you've seen from some of the panels. Obviously, we've talked a little bit about the cinematic side from the film side, and last night. What have you seen? Has anything really jumped out at you? And what are you looking forward to close out this year with, I guess, at OSU Tulsa and then into the future as well?
Well, it's interesting. One of the things that we've done is we've kind of combined the capabilities with videography and the team that put Thunderbird together to put a new micro-credential program together for advanced air mobility. And it's called the Ignite program. So if you're interested in learning about this technology, you can come enroll in that program, and it doesn't really matter what your background is, because the whole goal of this is to really combine the interdisciplinary capabilities. So, you may be a business student, you want to learn more about the technology so that way you can figure out how to mature your ideas, set up your company to be able to make this successful. Or you may be an engineer that needs to learn more about entrepreneurship. Say, how do I get my startup with my drone idea matured to the point where I can actually have a commercializable minimum viable product out of that? And so
is that Night with an N or a K?
Ignite.
Oh, Ignite. Ignite. Thank you.
Although, now we have to come up with another thing. Ignite. That's actually a great idea. Why didn't we think of that? Well, we may steal from that from trademark. Well, make sure you get royalties.
That's all that matters. But what's that? Envelope money, right? Money,
That's-
whatever you call it. Yeah. And I guess towards the end, I mean, your semester is on, first semester, right? In kind of the body of what you do here. And I want to remind people, like 25 plus years of Oklahoma State doing this, right? Doing the drone side of things.
Yeah.
On one of the oldest programs in the country. This is not something that's just like, oh, we fly drones now. Like, let's
Yeah.
spin this up. This is something you've been very involved in, and the school has been very involved in. Yeah.
Andy Arena, one of our faculty, kind of really started this whole program back in the late 90s. Always had a saying, we did drones before drones were cool. Now everyone has a program, but the things that we do are really focused on thinking about the next steps, right? And open up the capabilities for young creative minds to give them the tools so that way they can go out there and change the world.
Yeah, I'm sure part of you, is like, if I only had this when I was in
I
school,
know,
right?
right? Yes. It's like youth is always wasted on the young. So
This stuff keeps you young, which is
it
great.
does. And that's one of the reasons I love doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, being able to get to work with these young creative minds.
Has your pilot skills improved?
No, not whatsoever.
Staying out of that.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it's the autonomous capabilities and collision avoidance systems on the drones have improved, which of course has saved me quite a bit.
Saved, yes. And autopilot's awesome as well. Dr. Jamey, thanks so much for your time.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on the show. Love what, that you guys are doing with Thunderbird Drone Festival, and excited for its future. And also, just the future of aerospace in the state. People are slowly, I think, being more, the average Oklahoman is slowly being more aware of how big this industry is, how it's impacting everybody's daily lives, not just through the DoD or through everything. It's everywhere. And you guys are doing great work all over the world. So appreciate your time. Appreciate what your team is doing. And for people listening, I will put the link to the Drone Festival and a few things that Dr. Jamey Jacob has done, because his resume is very impressive. And this is just a small blip of everything he does. So thanks for listening.
Well, we have a great team, and we'll have to start making this an annual event between you and me.
Absolutely. This is my second year coming, so we'll have to keep this rolling. I'd love to.
That's awesome.
Thanks so much for being on the show. People listening, we'll catch you next episode. Cheers. We are up in Tulsa at Thunderbird Drone Festival. It's fantastic. I love drones. I need to get one. I need to learn how to fly and to get all the educational side of it out of the way so I don't do anything stupid or get my license taken away, which can happen. But it gives me great pleasure to introduce to the show Natalie Noles, who is Business Operations Manager for OSU OAIRE. Epic title. I'm excited to dive into everything that you do. But before we dive into everything that you do, for people listening that may not know who you are, tell me a little bit about yourself. Where were you born and raised? What's kind of your Oklahoma story, and how do you end up here?
Yeah, so I'm Natalie Noles, and I'm born and raised in Stillwater, Oklahoma. Go Pokes! I bleed orange. My great-grandpa taught for OSU A&M before it was OSU. My dad retired from OSU after 42 years. So I'm born and bred a Poke, and I will probably never leave Stillwater. I'm embedded in there. So Oklahoma grown, Oklahoma made.
Sorry to take you away from the game today.
Listen, it's funny because I actually have it up on my phone.
Great.
So as soon as we're done, I can check the score. So
this kickoff was what, 10 minutes ago?
it was at 11 o'clock playing Houston, but not probably the best season.
Okay.
But we still bleed orange. So.
Yeah, in it for the long haul.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of other teams there that are winning, even if the football team isn't winning. So with your story, with family being very involved and teaching, education sounds like it was written in the stars for you.
It was written in the stars, and while I may not be a educator by degree, it's in my blood, and I'm very passionate about getting education into the hands of students that maybe don't have access to it.
Yeah. So went to Oklahoma State. What was your degree in?
I actually didn't graduate from Oklahoma State.
We're getting into everything here right
You're getting down and dirty.
Sorry, people.
Yes. So Oklahoma State is a phenomenal college. However, I graduated from Northwestern Oklahoma State University with my business administration degree. And then a couple years ago, I went and got my MBA with the emphasis in aerospace logistics from Southeastern Oklahoma State.
I went to Southern Nazarene University, and both of those teams were in my conference.
Yeah. See?
Yeah.
See? It's still an Oklahoma school.
Alva, right?
Yes, Alva.
How was Alva, Oklahoma?
So I did online, non-traditional. I have 4 kids. So did the non-traditional path, but I did have to go up there 3 times and present. went down a dirt road, took a ride, hit the pothole, and stumbled right into the university.
Yeah.
So,
A really good friend of mine whose family's from up there, and they have the drugstore in Alva.
yeah.
And yeah, I think just only been up a few times.
But
Yeah, great
I
experience.
will say the professors are phenomenal there.
Absolutely. And then same for online going down
So,
Southeastern.
yep, never actually attended the campus itself. Funny enough, I actually wanted to walk because that was my MBA, but my job had me in Farnborough. I was at the air show there, England or walk
Durant,
across the
Oklahoma.
state.
Sorry, Durant.
It was a no-brainer, but I am so blessed that my family and my friends had a little mini graduation party for me at home.
So what brings you and what fascinates you into the world of aerospace and you thinking, I want to go and be in that world?
Yeah. So when the job came open, I had no idea that Oklahoma State University was building drones for Department of Defense. And I have a law enforcement background in that I was doing police dispatching before I came into aerospace. And so when I read that Dr. Jacob was building drones for the military to bring in ammo and incognito, it was just no way. There's no way that Stillwater, Oklahoma is doing this. And
We only cut grass in Stillwater and grow plants, right?
Yes,
And do agriculture.
Yeah, and there, we do have drones that are spraying right now as well, but I just knew that I had to be a part of it. It was a no-brainer. It's not in the forefront of what people are doing these days, and I just had to know about it. So I was so blessed that he hired me. My dispatching skills came in super handy to manage the job, but it's never ending. It's evolving. And I got to go to Bermuda and help fly a drone over a dolphin to collect its snot so that it could be tested. What OSU is doing is groundbreaking, and it's a no-brainer for us.
How long have you been working in this industry as far as
just a little over 3 years.
Okay.
So you can call me a newbie, but I've just been exposed to so much that I feel like I'm embedded into the drone world.
What was the specific job title and role that piqued your interest when it popped up?
So I actually came in as Dr. Jacob's assistant. I actually wanted to scale back what I was doing because of my family.
4 kids.
Four kids. We were fostering at the time. And so when that came about, I was like, oh, this is a job that will allow me to be home more. And it did in the beginning. But as I grew to learn about the drones and what OAIRE is doing, I dove in deep and decided that I wanted to do more. So when this job came open, it was a no-brainer. I was applying. I wanted it.
Yeah. Talk to me then a little bit about kind of your role now and then as far as the STEM application as well and how that also kind of weaves into you being a mom and a parent and seeing your own kids grow up.
So what's interesting, one of my duties is to oversee our STEM initiatives, and we have a STEM coordinator. And what I'm seeing is that a lot of the rural areas are not getting drones in their hands. They don't have that access. And we actually had a foster kid at one point in time that was very interested in drones. And so because of my job and the connections, we were able to get him into the OAIRE program. And just seeing this foster kid come from nothing, get to fly this drone, and decided to go to OSU and major in mechanical and aerospace engineering, it was a full circle moment at that point in time. And I'm just so passionate about getting drones into these kids' hands that don't have that access. We ended up creating an initiative with OAIRE. It's 77 counties in 77 weeks. And our plan is to get out into the rural counties and do these drone pop-ups. There's a lot of studies that state that if you can get drones into the hands of kids 6th, 7th, 8th grade, it helps shape their career and hopefully choosing engineering or aerospace.
Yeah. And they already have, it's amazing that the skills that these, we call them kids have as far as, the talent they can do to fly, right? And then you add in when they get older and their brains develop the actual mechanical side of it. And then they get interest in whether they're flying or developing. I mean, we've talked about how important the aerospace industry is for our state.
Yes.
You know, like you said, you're building. Even us, when we look back at like what are the things that shaped us,
Mhm.
right? It's that 6th to 8th
It's
things that happened to us.
absolutely.
I'm a golfer, and it definitely was around that time.
Yeah.
It's but as a parent too, there are things where you're like, well, sometimes it's not on the forefront, right? You're like just focusing on feeding and keeping them
Yes.
happy and making sure they don't break a bone
Yes.
running around
And
playing with their brothers and sisters.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I couldn't even imagine growing up with a drone. Like the water hose was our toy.
Right.
So just thinking kids these days, they get these drones, even if they're from Walmart, like that is a step into technology.
Yeah.
Sometimes think about how, we didn't have texting growing up. We passed notes. And so when I see my kids texting, and they're just know the phone in and out,
Yeah.
just think about that capabilities in drones and in aerospace. We were able to, we had a high school internship last summer. And one of the things that we had them do was you have to design and build your own drone corral. And I gave them no limits. So I said, you can build it however big you want, but I need specs. I need a supply of material. And then we're all going to load up in our van, and I'm going to take you to Lowe's and you're going to buy it. And just even the learning from getting to Lowe's, they didn't even check to see if these things were in stock. So we got there and to see the panic on their face that, oh my gosh, we can't get this today. What do we do? So just even that problem solving, breaking it down into little segments, to me is fun.
Yeah.
And it's sparking them, oh, I should have thought about this. So that summer program was so much fun. We allowed them to get their Part 107 and pay for it. And if they passed it, they got a free drone. And just the excitement on their face. And they took it so serious that you couldn't have asked for anything better from that. So
Yeah, it fills the cup, right?
It
For
fills-
you.
absolutely.
Sure, there's days,
absolutely.
there are days, yes, you get to go to Bermuda and see, the dolphins and kind of be a part of that. But also there are days where I'm sure, like everybody is work job, there are days where you're like, I just want to go home.
I just want to go home. You're right.
Yeah.
Just like here at Thunderbird,
Yeah.
we are working 16-hour days to make this happen. And it is filling my cup. But as soon as we're done, I'm going to
binge your
kick
time
back
off.
and relax.
Yeah. Well, great segue. Let's talk about the festival. I mean, walking in here, it's not just, obviously you've got your vendors and people you align with and partners here and panels, and we had the film element to it, Friday night. But also, we have like drone racing and drone soccer, and there's a sports element to it as well. So there's so many cool things that are happening here, not just, for parents listening or people listening, it's not just your mechanical,
Absolutely.
hey, we're going to go build. And like, if you put me in charge of building something, it isn't going to get off the ground. But I could probably get into, the sports side of it,
Yeah.
the competitive side. So there's all these different avenues, but excited to hear from your side. How is the festival? This is your first year kind of taking the leadership of the
Yes.
festival and pushing it into the future. So excited to hear from your perspective what it is that we're doing this weekend. Why are we here? And then the future of it. What is that?
Yeah. So I feel like this year has been a great transition for OSU to take it over from the Thunderbird guys. And, we are always going to keep the name Thunderbird Drone Festival. Our hope is to make it bigger and better each year. The film side is so important. And I think it's an untapped market that people don't really know about. When they think drones, they think racing. And I am competitive. Let me tell you, I have kids in sports, but that film aspect, we want to tap into that. OSU has a film department, so we want to get them involved with it. OSU Tulsa here is doing some film stuff. So how do we tap into that? So that's what we're looking at doing in the next several years. But this Saturday portion is new. So while we've always had drone racing and drone soccer, we wanted to add that STEM aspect to it. What we are seeing around the state is these educators don't have access to drone technology, to knowledge. And so we have some STEM breakouts today. We have one going on right now, and Pittsco came in, and these teachers, these educators, even students are in there, are building a drone right now. And they're going to be able to take that drone home and fly it and break it and learn how to refix it. I saw two little boys earlier that came in. They had never flown a drone and they saw the Xbox because, kids love Xboxes.
Yeah.
And I said, hey,
It's
do
familiar.
you want to play this Xbox? And he's like, do you have Minecraft? I said, no, but what do you think about flying a drone on this Xbox? And the eyes lit up. And that's how we know we're doing the right thing. So I did tell him, I said, well, when you're done with that Xbox, you can go fly a real drone. And he said, a real drone? And I said, just right around the corner. And his dad, the smile on the face that this dad and these two little boys, they're connecting over drones. And that's what we want to see. So that's what we hope to build with the festival is all things drones, film, STEM, everything. We hope to build it bigger and better.
Who are some of your partners that are here today? Obviously, we have ODAA and a few others, and you
Yes.
mentioned the people who are building. But tell me a little bit. And we've got plenty of time here. You want to dive into
Yeah.
your partnerships and how integral that is to the future of not just the festival, but everything that the industry has in the state too.
So our main sponsor is ODAA, Oklahoma Department of Aeronautics and Aerospace, and we do a lot of events with them throughout the year. We actually do a drone build with educators around the state of Oklahoma that we typically do in the spring. Something new that we are fixing to kick off actually in a week and a half is a drone search and rescue event. So we have over, I think, 6 teams around the state of Oklahoma with 5 to 7 students in each one. And we are going to simulate a true emergency situation at an undisclosed location so that these students can't prep ahead of time.
Yeah.
So we love ODAA. We love that partnership and we love where we see drones and aerospace going in the future. And we have Skyway Range, and that is here. So Skyway Range is a range out by the Osage Casino, and they're great partners with us. We have a hangar out there, and we do a lot of our testing facilities out there, and we hope to grow that. It's part of a corridor that we're working on where we can take launch here in Tulsa out to there. So we do a lot of our drone first responders with that, where our engineers are going out with Tulsa Fire Department and launching a drone and seeing real world house fires, tornado damage, and able to report that back. That is going to go big. We're looking at a lot of big things with that. And then we had NORDAM. NORDAM has been so gracious in that they have materials that they can't use. So they're donating it to us so that our students can then learn how to do composite layups and just test and not worry about, I made a mistake, I just wasted $100. There's no mistakes anymore. It's free range. So we're very proud of those partnerships and we hope to gain more.
Yeah, and Dr. Jamey kind of touched on it too. There's so many elements of this where this fits in. And in Oklahoma, we think of emergency services and tornadoes, right? And that corridor that you guys have to test, it's integral to everything that you do. It's saving lives, it's saving time, and putting taxpayer dollars to good use. Good use. Sometimes they don't. We're all entitled to our own opinion. We don't want to get into politics here. I don't want to go down that road. But, it is really cool to see this and see this technology evolve, but also to put this technology to use and for kids to grow up thinking one day, the kid childhood dream of I want to be, an astronaut or I want to be a firefighter.
Yeah.
Well, you can integrate drones into that. And you can be a firefighter, but you can be a firefighter drone pilot.
Yeah. And now you can be a police officer. You have the helicopter pilots with the police, but now you're going to have police with the drone pilot for when people escape and they need to go find them. They're on the runs, with the thermal cameras. You're already seeing that here in Oklahoma. I just think of it as another certificate for these students. Oh, I already have my Part 107, but I want to be a firefighter. Oh, I have my Part 107, but I want to be a police officer. So it's a more valuable, I see our workforce thriving by incorporating drones. And that's something that we're very, very proud of.
Yeah. Are any of your kids taking interest in your role and what you do here?
I have one. While he doesn't want to be a drone pilot, he actually wants to be a pilot. And he plans on joining the Air Force. And I think that's another part of this. I hope to see him get into the unmanned world because I think being a pilot and having an unmanned pilot license too is very beneficial, but I try not to push my
Yeah, sure.
interest on them because I want them to love what they do. I love what I do. But he's my only one so far.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, I know I obviously joked a little bit about taxpayer dollars, but, the stuff isn't cheap.
It's
So
not.
how do you, that is a great way I think we can talk about this. How do you fund everything that you do here and further your research, further your education?
Yeah. So while we do obtain some grants, we heavily rely on industry partners and they donate to us or buy drones for us to get into the hands of kids. But without industry, we are not going to go anywhere. So we need all industry partners, big or small, to invest in these youth and help us get aerospace and drones into their
Yeah.
hands. It's only going to build our workforce from years to come.
Yeah. As far as industry partners, is that industry partners that are just specifically within the aerospace industry or any industry?
Any industry.
Okay.
This industry is evolving. So, we automatically think aerospace when we think drones, but I think we're forgetting about realtors. I think you guys are seeing now aerial over land that is being sold. We are doing spraying for agriculture. We're doing inspections for bridges and DOT. So this is a huge industry, and it doesn't just have to be focused at aerospace.
Okay. People listening out there that would love to be a part of it. And, it's when you really think about it, the drone space is impacting every single industry. Even then you'd think, no, there's not. No, it is, because now we don't need helicopters to inspect bridges.
We don't.
Whether it's looking at land or, like I said, even in the hunting space, right? You talk about, thermals and when someone escapes, well, the hunting industry in Oklahoma is great too and worldwide. So all these other things, it's an exciting industry to be a part of because the possibilities are endless.
Our tagline is fly forward, and we want everybody to fly forward with us.
Well, Natalie, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
I'm glad they had a little breakout so I could take you away from your role today to
Yes.
share your story. Thanks so much. And for people listening, we will catch you next episode. Cheers.
Thank you.
Hope you guys enjoyed that great episode. Thank you so much for listening. As always, huge shout out to our sponsors, the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, sharing Oklahoma story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com and follow them on Instagram for daily updates at OklahomaHOF. Our other sponsor, the Chickasaw Nation, amazing sponsor. They do amazing things for the state, and they're always sponsoring something in Oklahoma. They're a huge supporter of Oklahoma, and without their support, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. This episode is brought to you by the Doghouse OKC. Recently, I have been in need of some doggy daycare for my 2 pups, and the Doghouse have come in clutch. The team over there are incredible. They've taken care of my 2 golden doodles, and so it's been an honor to partner with them on the podcast and share the love. And adding to that is the Doghouse. And so if you're in need of doggy daycare in the day or boarding overnight, they do grooming and other cool things too. But I've had a fantastic experience, and it's an honor and a privilege to share this with you too. So go to thedoghouseokc.com and follow them on Instagram at thedoghouseokc, and hopefully our pups will run into each other. If you're looking for a way to make a real difference, check out Bethany Children's Health Center. They're helping children reach their full potential as a leader in pediatric rehabilitation. They're also building a new outpatient center of excellence, and it's going to be a landmark right on Route 66. Want to learn more or even schedule a tour? Just head to bethanychildrens.org and click on the Ways to Give tab. That's bethanychildrens.org.
Thank you for listening. We are inspired by those around us and hope that you are too. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review so we can keep telling your stories. For more great Oklahoma content, follow This is Oklahoma on Facebook and Instagram.